Okay, we're in On Becoming a Wizard, and we're doing straight talk about the ambiguity of seeking powers. And we worked a little bit with the idea of sorcery. And of course, people can do Wicca, and they can be in a coven, and the coven can have a lot of experience and some experienced people, and it could be a rather amazing kind of thing. And it could ultimately be involved with a spiritual path that is self-transformation and not about manifestation. You know, in the movie The Craft and in the movie Practical Magic, you get into all this stuff about manifestation. And in order for something to manifest into either the material world or the psychic or astral world or the mental or spiritual world, forces or power has to be applied for that to happen. And forces or powers only come from beings. They don't come from some abstract place out in the ethers. And the less you understand the connections that bring about the manifestations, the more likelihood is that you might be practicing sorcery. And if one way to know if you're practicing sorcery is if you feel the cost. If you have a payoff of some kind. And you can look at various kinds of systems, and read about different books about various kinds of shamanistic systems. You know, there's a lot of shamanism that can be sorcerous, and of course there's a lot of shamanism that's holy magic. You understand what I'm saying? Just because it's shamanism or Wicca doesn't mean it's sorcery or magic proper or holy magic. You look at the nature of the relationship between any kind of product, that is manifestation, and the operator's well-being. And if the operator's well-being decays as a result of the rite or the activity, then you're practicing sorcery. You're probably in connection with beings connected to what's sometimes called the realm of the false Holy Spirit. And it's not good for you. Okay? Now there's lots of ways to contact beings, and there's all kinds of different kinds of beings. You know, there's the underworld work of R.J. Stewart, which is Old English method, modernized in attempt to deal with the beings, the nature beings. You know, you could read The Magic of Findhorn and find out about people who naturally work with nature beings. Now, of course, there's different things you can do, One thing you can do is just try to have contact with nature beings, okay? And you can have a practice or a ritual practice that brings about contact. And again, the question is, are you exhausted through the activity? If you're exhausted through the activity, then you're dealing with beings who do not really have your own needs in their heart, except in the sense that maybe you need to get in trouble in order to get over the things that you're doing wrong. I mean, a lot of the dark beings that we encounter aren't there evil in the sense of, you get over to my Real Anthroposophy and you look at the videos on the shadow, and you'll find a discussion there of the function of the shadow, and we're going to get back to that in these videos a little bit. But anyway, okay, straight talk about the ambiguity of seeking powers. Now, enough said in a general sense about sorcery. Let's talk about magic proper. Well, that's where the Barden books are. The Barden books are about magic proper. Okay, now what's magic proper? Well, magic proper is where the operator undergoes a training. And the training is difficult. Okay? Barden wrote 3 books about the training. And if you want to do magic proper, then what you learn to do is you learn to manifest out of your own forces. You don't borrow those forces unconsciously from negative beings who then affect your health, but rather you bring your own being into a higher state through years of disciplines. It takes a long time to do Barden. Okay? And then you're able to, out of yourself, produce the manifestation if that's what you want. Now in Barden, just to make it clear, he's actually about ultimately holy magic. But he's doing it in such a way that people who have this thing that they've got to work out with regard to powers can go there and they can study powers and they can acquire the disciplines that lets them manifest without harming their health. That is, if you got to do it, then you go to Barden. Okay? And that's the best example of magic proper. Magic proper, the operator produces the effects out of his own being, and he does that by training himself to be able to do that. And it's not easy. For example, imagine yourself sitting in a chair. And you've been sitting in that chair for an hour and a half. And you've been very, very quiet. You haven't moved at all. But your mind has been exercising. Now, do you think you can sit still for an hour and a half and exercise your mind? Well, what might you do? Well, in Barden, there's a discipline called learning to inhale and exhale the elements. Now, what does that do? Well, through preparations and earlier exercises, you learn to place your consciousness into the psychic element of your being, that is, to your soul or your astral body or whatever you want to call it. And then you learn to work with the substance of that, which has as a quality the element fire. Now, it's not like fire in the sense of what you see burning, combustion, but it is what the ancients understood as a basic aspect of the nature of things. Remember, enthusiasm, okay? So there's a quality in our astrality or in our psychic life or our soul life that is fiery, and you can practice evoking that fieriness all by itself and learn to breathe it in and out of your astral body. And your astral body will then develop a capacity to feel the tension of that force. And then once your astral body has been able to do that without causing any disharmonies to your physical body or to your mental or spiritual life, that's why you do the training, then you can take that fiery element, which Barden also calls the electrical fluid, and you can apply it in various ways to do things, that is, to manifest. Okay? But these are disciplines, so think about if you want to spend an hour and a half in meditation every day, in what he calls the asana, doing these exercises so that you learn to place your consciousness inside these different realms, etc., etc., etc. Okay? That's magic proper.